Hi, welcome to Ever New with Kris Smith. And today, our co host and special guest is Amy Hewlin. Evergreen is all about living out loud, forging lasting connections, and visiting with effervescent thinkers and dreamers. It's an uplifting hour or more. This one promises to be more, that promises to leave everyone feeling better. So, who's up for some fun? Welcome. Let's get this party started. Hi,
Oh,
Amy.
hello. How are you?
Amy is pinch hitting for us today because Hannah McCrane, my regular co-host, isn't able to be with us today. So I asked Amy and she accepted. And I mean, gosh, I have learned so much more about her since this. I just decided to turn this into Amy Hewlin Day because she has so many great stories about her different interactions with Star Trek folks, including appearing in Star Trek of Gods and Men, which I did know about. But I
Mhm.
didn't know about an awful lot of this other stuff. So she sent me 12 amazing images that I'm going to share. If you have comments or questions for Amy or for me, please feel free to put them up here and we'll get underway with. You want to say a little bit, Amy, or should we just start with images so you can go from there?
Sure. Well, I'll just do a quick little intro. Hello to John and Squirrel Lake. I am Amy Hewlin, a high school computer science teacher, and I have been teaching for 32 years. And I've been a Star Trek fan for much longer than that. So I just was excited that Kris invited me on to talk about all of my, not all, there's a lot, but a few of my Star Trek adventures. So hopefully you're into Trek and want to hear more.
Okay, and I also want to. She sent me 12 images, and then I went to her Facebook page and did a little bit of sleuthing, and I came up with a particular thing that she loved particularly well to show you what kind of a teacher we're talking to here today. For those of you who are teachers, this was something she got. Ms. Yulin, she's fantastic. She's kind hearted and so wonderful, it hurts. I would like to thank her for sacrificing her time and freedom to be the best teacher she can be. Thanks. Anonymous. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really nice. Like those as a teacher and anybody out there who is a teacher, you hold on to little mementos like that very closely because they don't come often. So you have to document it when you can.
Kind of like, with legislatures and stuff, they say for every letter they get, they assume at least 10 other people feel the same way and didn't bother to write. So, I do that too as a copywriter. Whenever I get, kudos for anything I've done, on those days when you think, oh my gosh, is this even worth it? This is hard, whatever. You just go back to those little mementos and go, yes, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this thing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So we will get underway with the first image and Amy can explain it to us.
Okay. All right. So it all started with Shakespeare layout. Now, I am also a scrapbooker, memory keeper, and I love Shakespeare. And I really was introduced to Patrick Stewart very early in my high school career as a Shakespearean. And I just fell in love with his acting. And prior to that, I had seen the original series. I had gone to the movies in the theater, all except the first one. I think I was too young and didn't have anybody who would take me to the motion picture. But other than that, I attended everything in the theater. But and so I was like, familiar with Star Trek. I enjoyed Star Trek, but I wasn't like a fan the way I'm a fan now. But that was all about when I learned that Patrick Stewart was going to be on The Next Generation, like everything changed for me. I became a hardcore Star Trek fan. The, the rest is kind of history.
All righty. And here's another great image.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, when Grace Lee Whitney passed, like in the upper left-hand corner, That was a picture of my niece, who is in her 30s now. I took her to a Star Trek convention, and I had an opportunity to spend some time talking to Grace on the set of Star Trek of Gods and Men, and she was just delightful. And so I was very, very sad when she passed.
Yes. Yeah, I met her a time or two as well, and she was terrific.
Yeah. So Lisa asked, would either of you like to work on a Star Trek show? Yes, yes, yes. If I could, I absolutely would. I'm one of those that would like to be an actor without, like kind of even a background actor that would get the experience, get to play all day, every day, but not have to deal with like the fame side of being a Star Trek actor. So that is what I would want. How about you, Kris?
Oh, me too. Absolutely. I had an opportunity. I came really, really close to having a little bit part just to show up in one of the shows, which didn't happen. But yeah, that would have been great. Not to get famous or anything, just to realize, because I was a fan from the very beginning too, and it's just nice to see fans that who are in those background scenes. You go, yeah, there you go. It is
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, and that's the thing that I always find interesting, with my, like, especially with my students who are like, oh, I want to be YouTube or TikTok famous. And they've got all these ideas of what fame is. And I look at it, I see these actors at conventions, and, they do such a great job of reaching out to their fans and really making us feel like we're important. And so I love them. I love what they do, but being on like that all the time and not really having like true privacy, yeah, I would not want that.
the reason I became a writer. I mean, I thought about acting earlier on, and I thought, I don't know if I could do that. To realize that you're basically an open book. If you go anywhere, you can't go anywhere anonymously. I think that would be really, really hard. And that would be hard for me because I'm kind of an introvert.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, for those of us that are introverts, that would
Yes.
be very, very hard. Like I can do things like this because, it's I'm still in the comfort of my home and I don't have to like go anywhere. And so this is okay. But yeah, just being on all the time, that would be hard.
Even with introverts, I mean, if you really are truly introverted, even doing this, something like this, afterwards, you just, you exhale and you go, oh my gosh, I survived that. And you realize you had fun doing it, but it was still outside your comfort zone.
Right. It's like, I need a nap now.
Yeah, really. Okay. Before we go to another picture, let's see some comments.
Okay.
Cookie Sword, who we've missed for a couple of sessions. Hello, glad to see you joining us, Amy. See, us. See, this is an us show. It's the viewers and co-hosts.
Yeah.
I'm just about to finish Deep Space Nine. I have 6 more episodes to go.
Yay. That's what I tell you. That's one of the things that I loved about the pandemic is that because I was teaching from home for a year and a half and had a longer lunch hour. Usually at school, lunch is 20 minutes or about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And at home, it was an hour. And I was like, oh, it's like being a real adult for the first time in my life. But my husband and I, we would eat lunch and we watched all of Voyager and then we watched all of Deep Space Nine. So it was kind of a glorious opportunity to watch TV when I don't normally have time to watch TV.
Other than TNG, which of course is your favorite because of Patrick Stewart, do you have a second favorite or a third favorite, or even could you like put them in order of your favorites?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. That's so hard because I love them all for different reasons.
Exactly, like children.
Yeah, yeah.
What's your favorite?
Right. Yeah, I can definitely say, and I think John says the next one, Patrick Stewart was a great captain.
Yes.
Yes. Patrick Stewart is by far my favorite. And hopefully everybody's caught up on Picard. I won't do any spoilers, but yeah, I love Patrick Stewart.
Yes. I met Patrick Stewart one time very briefly when I worked in Hollywood. His assistant, his personal assistant, Jackie Edwards, said she had to take a script up to him up at his home. Would I like to go along? And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So I jumped in her car and we rode up to this windy little road up to his home, and we went into his backyard, and he was in swimming trunks by his pool, and I went, whoa, this is really cool. Because an interesting thing that you really don't know if you haven't met someone is you've never seen them in 3D, in 3 dimensions. And you realize how much better looking they are when they're in 3 dimensions, not just because they're live before you, but because they are everybody said he was really handsome. He was absolutely breathtakingly good look in 3D. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw Patrick Stewart, I admired Patrick Stewart, but I didn't realize what a hunk he was until it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
So that was
really, well, and that's one of those types of things where I think it's because, on the screen, we see them and we see their personality and chemistry with other actors and things. But when you meet somebody in real life and you really get to experience that also makes people very attractive too, is their personality.
It depends on the person, but
yes. Absolutely. Yeah, it can work both ways, right?
It can. Lisa, you're about to find out that, yes, she has worked on a Star Trek show. And I came close, but I didn't get on it. I came close to being a secretary on The Next Generation, but they weren't offering the money I needed to be able to keep, a roof over my head and food. They weren't paying what I had gotten at Baywatch, so I had to turn it down. But that's what... Yeah, Lisa, you're going to find out as we move along here what Amy has done on Star Trek shows. So hang in here. We're still working on this. He almost didn't unpack because Patrick thought Stewart was going to fail. Did he tell you that story? Patrick almost didn't unpack because he thought The Next Generation was going to fail. Did you ever hear that?
I don't know. I haven't heard that side of the story. I do believe I've heard that he. Okay. Hello.
Hey, here comes Roger, who taught me this system here.
Right.
Let's do that.
Yes.
Nice. Love that you are like in full gear. Excellent. Yeah, but I do like as a Shakespearean actor and coming to the US and being in this series, and I don't think he understood that like the mythos that he was entering and that this was going to now be the rest of his life. I don't think he quite knew that. But certainly he has come to that understanding, right?
There was a really, really cool story. The first time Brent Spiner was going to be to Star Trek convention, he was aware of the mythos and he thought, oh my God, there's no way I'm going to measure up. And he was really, really, he was a nervous wreck. He was so anxiety driven before, but Dee happened to be at the same one. And Brent Spiner said to him, I am so freaking nervous. And Dee said, don't be nervous. Just love them. That's all they want. Mm-hmm. And he hit that, he hit that stage with that in mind. And he's been a wonderful, wonderful guy because you don't have to measure up. You just need to show up and be decent. And you're going to be so embraced by the fandom.
Yeah. Absolutely. I wish I would have included my Brent Spiner. I have a picture of my husband and I with Brent and Jonathan Frakes. And it's so funny because my husband and Jonathan look like they could be brothers. And Brent and I look like we could be related too. So
wow.
Funny. Yeah.
Well, we can have you back. This is okay. We'll call this a sampler.
Okay.
Okay. So let's put up another comment. We got lots of comments here. Especially Leonard Nimoy had a hard time with the fame. He couldn't go anywhere without being bombarded by fans. He struggled with it for a long time. Yeah.
Can I tell a quick little Leonard Nimoy story?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as a convention goer, I went to the Emerald City Comic Con in
Mm-hmm.
Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
and Leonard Nimoy was there, and so I just really enjoyed it because he read from his poetry, and it was just a great interview with him, and so I got my photo taken with him. Well, the printer broke. And they, like, I think they're only were down to like one printer or something, and these thousands of fans wanting their prints. And so they said, well, okay, we'll just email or we'll mail you the print. And I'm like, no, I am not leaving without my picture. So, we were kind of walking around, my husband and I were walking around the kind of the tent where the printers were, and I see this slit and this kind of opening that I can get in, and my husband was like, "What are you doing?" As I'm walking towards it, and he's like, "Amy, what are you doing? Don't do that." And I'm like, "I'm getting my print." So I go in, and it's like, if you act like you know what you're doing and you belong, people just are like, "Oh, okay." So I went up and I'm like, "Okay, so now the next one we're going to print is this, and here's the time." And so we went through the person who was running it. We looked through all of the pictures. I saw mine. I saw one of my friends. I'm like, "Okay, we're printing these two next." Yeah, I printed and I walked out with my image. So I
Awesome.
have my Leonard Nimoy photo.
I got one with Carl Urban a couple of years ago at Comic Con because I wanted him to have something of Dee's because I think Dee would have loved his McCoy. And
Yes.
I spent a couple of minutes with him off stage. And he did this soliloquy about how much he loved Dee, and he'd never gotten a chance to meet him. He had read my book, though, about Dee.
Oh, good.
And so he, invited me to come in, and I allowed him to pick whichever one of the neckerchiefs updates that he wanted. And he says, if we do another Star Trek, it will be in the new Star Trek. So keep your eyes
Ooh,
posted. And it sounds like they are going to do one. So it sounds
yeah,
like
yeah.
I will be seeing that neckerchief again.
That's
Uh,
exciting.
yeah. Brent Spiner's a funny guy on the panel. Oh, he is. He started out as a comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roger, did you want to ask a question or say, are you just hanging in here?
Right now, I'm enjoying the conversation. I will join. Thank you. I'll join
Okay.
when. Yeah, I don't want to interrupt this.
Okay. Carl Urban is a sweet man. He absolutely is a sweet man. He was just delightful. I thought, well, not only does he do McCoy well, he's got the heart, a heart like Dee's. So it was wonderful. It was really wonderful to see that. Okay, so let's go back to some more pictures because the
Okay.
comments have stopped for the moment. We were with, let's see,
I think it was the JG layout.
we did this one already.
Yep.
Okay, the next one
Yep.
is this one.
Yeah, so this was at the Star Trek 40th anniversary in Seattle at the Space Needle.
Uh-huh.
And JG Hertzler and I, got along quite well. And I actually took him he wanted to go to a casino to play blackjack or something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I don't gamble, so yeah,
Yeah.
I can drive. So I drove him, so I drove him and a couple other people who were also on, excuse me,
Uh-huh.
but that were also on Star Trek of Gods and Men. And they did some gambling and I just hung out. It was a fun evening.
I never got to meet him, but I got to interact with him like remotely because while Dee was in the hospital, nobody knew how sick Dee was. But while Dee was in the hospital and I was his personal assistant, J.G. Hertzler actually wrote him a letter saying he was doing a convention in Germany and he really wanted Dee to join him.
Oh,
And Dee said, "Oh my gosh, if I was feeling better, you and I'd be heading for Germany right now." He dictated a letter back to him saying, oh, also, and JG said at one point in this letter, at one point he said, I was asked at a convention the other day who my favorite character on Star Trek was, and it just, boom, it just hit me, Dr. McCoy, So he said, it would be such an honor if you would join me, if you could join me at that, so Dee teared up at that, and he wrote him this lovely letter saying, I wish I could, but I'm just not able to do that.
Yeah,
and so that was my remote interaction with J.G. Hertzler.
Yeah, I would kind of have this fantasy because JG is in to Shakespeare as well.
Yes.
And so what I would love to do, if anybody knows JG and can put a bug in his ear, I would love to co-host a Shakespeare podcast with him and have a section that is about Shakespeare as seen in the Star Trek universe, because Shakespeare is all over the Star Trek universe. So
I think he's one of my friends on Facebook.
Yeah, and mine too, but he's...
Well, just send him an IM.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and take another picture in.
Yay.
There he
I
is.
love Patrick Stewart.
Do you have
so if I had an opportunity to sit down with Patrick Stewart, I mean, one, I would talk his ear off about Shakespeare. Like, that's what I would really want to hear. But I would also apologize to him. So I've seen him a few times. I went to Michigan because he was doing Antony and Cleopatra and The Tempest. And so his fan club went there and got to see those productions, and he spoke to us, and it was just great. It was really, really nice. And then he also spoke to the Edward de Vere Society, and I went to that as well. And as he was leaving that, I had a friend. This is my shame. I shouldn't even tell this story. I'm so embarrassed. Okay, so I had a friend from Star Trek of Gods and Men who, when he found out that I was going to see Patrick Stewart, he's like he sent me this kind of packet with a script and a DVD, and he was like, get this to Patrick Stewart. And I'm like, how am I going to get this to Patrick Stewart? That's not how things are done, And he's like, I know you, Amy, you'll find a way. Yes. I found a way. So I handed it to Patrick Stewart as he's getting on this elevator. And, I said a couple words to it, handed it to him, and then I walked off. And after that, I was just like, oh, cringe. I can't believe I did that. So that is what I would apologize to him about. And then I'd be like, please talk Shakespeare with me.
I have to tell you a cute story. Jackie Edward, who became his personal assistant later on, the first time he appeared at a Star Trek convention, Dee was also at it. It was in Denver. Jackie Edward was a huge DeForest Kelley fan, but when Patrick Stewart came on the stage and started to talk, she was behind me, in the seat behind me. She was so enraptured by that guy. She was mesmerized, absolutely locked onto that guy like nobody's business. And I look back and I go, whoa, look at this. And I told everybody else, look at her, And it was so funny because then when she applied for the job, she said, don't you ever tell anybody that story. I can't get this job if he thinks I'm that big of a, But you know what? He is mesmerizing. I don't care who ever meets him. He is mesmerizing. And when I was going for the job at The Next Generation, Dee and Carolyn were going to put a bug in Rick Berman's ear for me and give me a heads up. And Carolyn said to me, but just don't tell them you're a Star Trek fan. They don't want, they don't want. And she couldn't think of the words. I said flakes, and she goes, yeah, flakes. She says, and she says, but you're not flaky, And I laughed, and then I said, Carolyn, if I tell him I'm not a DeForest Kelley fan, That's a lion. Everybody's a DeForest Kelley fan,
Yeah.
you know? And anyhow, I walked into Rick Berman's office after waiting like an hour and a half because they had some big blow up. And I was supposed to meet him at like 10:30 and I didn't get in until about noon. And I walked in the door and I'm thinking, what can I say? You know, I'm looking for a job. And I walked in the door and he says, well, D. Kelley says, what did he say exactly? It's in the book. I can't remember. You're the best thing ever or something like that. And I was just like, my mouth hit and I said, well, allowing for a little hyperbole, I hope to live up to that. Whatever it was he said was so complimentary that it just floored me. And you don't usually go into a interview, with that kind of accolade. So it was like, well, allowing for a little hyperbole, I hope to, measure up to that. But yeah, it's huge. Yeah, it was like, Carolyn, I can't not say I'm a DeForest, I just can't do that.
Well, and I kind of think that there are, like, I understand what she was saying, because I think there are kind of these different levels of fandom that they see the character, they don't see the actor as a real person playing a character. And I think that's the part that they would be like, that's not exactly what we're looking for. But if you have people like, I'm an Uber fan,
right?
But I've done a lot of celebrity at conventions where I'm the one in charge of getting the celebrities where they need to be.
Right.
And it's because I know that they're people, like I can admire them, but I'm not going to be weird about it.
Absolutely. And when I started working at Warner Brothers or any of the studios, they really screen for, did you come here to just sit at the commissary and ogle stars all day? They really do screen you for that kind of fanaticism. The term fan is short for fanaticism. And you can get so overboard and whatever that it just, it's not healthy for the people. You want to hire people that know actors put their pants on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us. They have good days, they have bad days, they're human beings. Because if you can't work with people as they are, then you're going to have a problem,
Yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, privacy. If you're just there to, get pictures or whatever and are going to blast it all over, it's like, that's not what they need. They need somebody who can be discreet and private.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to look for comments here and then we'll get back to some pictures. Cookie Sword says, I'm going to a convention next week, and William Shatner's doing a panel. He also has photo ops, but they were like hundreds of dollars. John Delancey was supposed to be there, but he canceled.
Oh.
Where is that going to be? Where is that convention in case somebody else wanted to get in on that? Cookie Sword, please let us know. John Bowersox. I happen to know John Bart is John Bowersox. I always love talking on Facebook to Aaron Eisenberg. He played Nog on Deep Space Nine. It was really sad when he unfortunately passed away. Did you meet him, Amy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. I have a story about Rick Berman. Around 1980, Dee and Rick lived next door to each other. That's true. Without Rick asking, Dee would take his trash cans inside his house without asking for. Absolutely. They lived across the street from Dee and Carolyn, down about maybe a house and a half. And after the earthquake and the whole thing, he came over and, checked on each other and stuff like that. Oh, here we go. Cookie Sword, it's Fan Expo in St. Louis. We'll have a blast and come back with some pictures if you can. We'll share them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go back to brands.
Wait, but Cookie's World talked about, talked about John Delancey.
Uh-huh.
I definitely have a John Delancey story.
Okay.
He is so nice. He is so nice. So at Emerald City Comic Con, I was, I don't even remember what the title was, but basically his line leader. So he was sitting at a table signing autographs, and I was the person in charge of the line and getting people to come through the line. And so we chatted all weekend, and he was so funny because he kept like he was so worried about me because I was standing the whole time. And he's like, would you like me to get you a chair? You could sit in this chair. And I'm like, no, trust me, I'm fine. I'm a teacher. I literally stand all day. You know?
Wow. Yeah.
He was so nice. And it was funny because when I was growing up, my grandma watched Days of Our Lives, and he was on Days of Our Lives. And so we kind of had that connection, and we're talking about that a little bit, and kind of a number of Days of Our Lives actors who have also appeared on Star Trek. So that's a connection.
Roger put his hand up. I think he has a comment.
Well, a tiny story. I'll make it quick.
Yes.
I met John Delancey as well back in 1991. It was in the City of Commerce. I was a store manager at a particular store over at the Citadel, and it was right after Memorial Day weekend. I'll never forget it. And he was in on a Tuesday. He walked in, and it was myself and my coworker, who eventually became my cousin, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, that's John Delancey. Like, how do you know? I said, that's John Delancey. So, and we were the only ones in the store, and he was shopping around, and I went up to him. I said, Mr. Delancey, may I assist you? Sure. He says, how do you know? I said, I have a script in the back. May I have your autograph? And I ran to the back. I had the episode, Yesterday's Enterprise of all episodes, and he was very gracious. He signed it, and we spoke for a while, but he was so nice. And I don't know if he was expected to be recognized or not, but he was. And when you were telling us that story, I thought it was cool. I'm like, yeah, I've got one too. He was really nice, as opposed to the role that he played in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Wow, he's evil. But,
I have a cute story that Dee told. He was in his Rite Aid pharmacy one day, and Richard Crenna was in at the same time. And there was this gal who was going, from aisle to aisle, gathering her stuff, and she saw Richard Crenna, and she just, oh my God, that's Richard Crenna. And she thought, I just really want to get his autograph. And Dee noticed her, and she started to ask him if he would get Richard Crenna. And then she goes, oh my God, you're DeForest Kelly. So she was stuck between two of her favorite actors, one of them to ask the other for the autograph because she was embarrassed. And another time he was going through a line at his grocery store, and he says a lot of the cashiers, if they don't know you, try not to let on that they know who you are, because some actors do not like to be acknowledged or, named. And he said, but it was so funny because as she was checking my grocery store, she's humming the Star Trek theme. So yeah,
she couldn't help herself.
Really. Okay. John Bart, Jerry Ryan, who plays 7 and 9, has had a huge problem with stalking issues. Yes. For a long time, she wouldn't go to conventions. Now she has a big buff security guard. So it was really tough for her. It's what Amy was talking about with people fanatics. Oh, yeah, that reminds me of another story that I had. I went to William Shatner's charity horse show, and I had a DeForest Kelly, my Walk of Fame jacket on. And Carolyn couldn't be there because she had hurt bunions, but she said, go say hi to Dee when you get a chance. So I went out and bought a little bunny, stuffed bunny for him to take to her. And I put, somebody loves you and missed you tonight, So I brought it to her to give to, anyhow, I headed down to where they were all seated, where all these Star Trek folks were seated, and these big security guards, big brawny security guards, like blocked my way. And I thought, oh my gosh, so I kept kind of looking to see, and I could see Dee was, kind of turning around and looking every so often. And every time he turned, I would, try to catch his, and they would block me, and I thought, well, maybe I could throw the bunny up in an arc. No, they'd throw me right out of here. I was trying to think of all these ways to at least get the bunny to Carol and to Dee to get to Carol. And it was really cold that year, and I basically wanted to make contact and kind of go home because I was freezing. So finally, Dee ended up needing to get up and use the restroom. And he stood up and he started to head out. And of course, the security guards saw that and did this, shoulder to shoulder thing to block me. And then Dee saw me and he goes, Kris, I've been looking all over for you. And they just kind of went, yeah, parted like the Red Sea, and he came out, and it was like, oh my gosh. I said, I understand now about security. And he goes, yeah, he says, wherever Shatner and Nimoy are, they have to have massive, massive security. And I'm like, wow, I'm so glad most of Dee's fans weren't that way, that they were very respectful, because he, I was just super glad that, so many people got to meet Dee because he was accessible and not necessarily, Shatner and Nimoy needed that protection. Apparently Dee didn't. So, yeah.
Interesting. Well, and that's kind of goes back to Cookie's word talking about the cost of William Shatner's photo, which is very true. One of the things John Delancey did in his line was that a lot of the actors will not only charge, $75 to $150 for a photo, but then you also are paying about the same amount for their autograph.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that came through with the photo of themselves with John Delancey, he would just sign it for free.
Yeah.
Very cool. And he just made that decision himself. He's like, you already paid for this, and he talked so much, and some people would get a little miffed with this. I don't understand why, but he spent so much time talking to each individual person. And I just thought it was lovely because he was having real conversations with them.
Right.
He was asking them about themselves, like getting to know them. And it was beautiful. Like, it was probably by far my best experience as, working celebrity of a convention, because he was just so kind.
That's what I loved about Dee's appearances too, because he would usually read a poem or maybe two, and then he'd say, he'd tell a couple stories from his Westerns, and then he'd say, well, that's all I know. What do you know? And he'd opened it up so he could interact with the fans for most of his appearance. And it was so neat, because later on we went to a auction to to get money for the North Shore Animal League, which was Dee's favorite charity. And he and Carolyn came in and surprised us by coming to our fan club party. And he remembered each person who was in that room. He remembered not only that they'd asked their question, but which question they asked.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's truly tuning in, and I was like, wow, I'm not sure I would remember who asked what question, but he absolutely knew, and he said, oh, and you're from so-and-so, because he'd received the letter, somebody from New Jersey. Oh, you're from New Jersey. I remember, and stuff like that. He was really tuned in to his fans.
Wow. I wish I had a memory like that.
Yeah, really. Here's more photos. I don't think I've showed this one yet, have I?
No. So this was on the set of Star Trek Enterprise. And funny thing, you can slightly see that my uniform is a different color than the other uniform.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's because I'm fat and actors are not.
Oh, come on.
No, it's true. So this is a uniform. This is a male uniform from first season. And first season of Enterprise, they used a different fabric than they did in subsequent seasons. So they could no longer get the fabric. And so when we were doing the costume shop tour, I saw all these just bolts and bolts of fabric, because I think they were like, that is never happening to us again. But anyway, they had to totally like tailor this uniform so that it would fit me. And I was like, oh, can I just keep it because you'll never use it again because nobody else will be this fat? And they're like,
Oh,
no, sorry, it's too expensive. We can't let you have it.
okay, here, oh, got some more comments. So let's see if we got, John is so sweet. Yes. I love that John really tried to get to know people. I don't know how do you remember all those questions. I couldn't do that. Neither do I. Aha! Ross Trowbridge, this is Golden Spike. Ross Trowbridge just had an Achilles tendon.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, snap on him. So he just had surgery. Thinking 2 weeks ago, maybe not even 10 days ago, and I didn't know if he'd be able to join us. But obviously, as long as he's not having to walk, here he is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ross, for being here. That's freaking awesome. Let's go back here now. He usually sends us these extremely wonderful comments. So we'll see what happens there. Now we just put you on the spot. Okay, let's go back to here's one.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Wayback Machine. So this is in the 90s, early 90s. I don't remember what year, but yeah, it had to have been the early 90s. So James Doohan came to the University of Idaho and spoke for free to the engineering students. So
how cool is that?
Was a mechanical engineering student, and so I got to go as his +1, and we kind of hung back, at the end of the line as people were getting autographs and things. And at the end, I'm like, Mr. Doohan, may I take your photograph? And he's like, oh, come around, be in the photo. And so my husband and I were like, okay. I was like that. My husband's like, oh, cool. So then we go around and I'm just kind of leaning in and he's like, touch me. Let me know you're back there. And so I'm like, okay. It was like so awesome. It made me so happy.
He was absolutely fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And he had great stories to tell. Yeah. Moscow, Idaho is a fun town. That's where I was born and raised.
Oh, so we got comments here I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
2 weeks. That's 2 weeks. Oh, 2 weeks. I was right. I figured it was 2 weeks. Yeah. Tough son of a gun and a sweet man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, back up to here so I can find another photo.
Okay.
This is a little
this is a little blurry. Sorry. So this was the in the upper left-hand corner. That is a picture of me from the Star Trek experience at Universal Studios, and probably sometime in the 90s. And then in the early 2000s, my husband and I went to the Star Trek experience in Las Vegas and had this picture. Well, this is a picture that I put together because I was on a radio show to win a walk-on role on Enterprise. And as you can see, I won, right?
Yes.
Because I got to spend a day on the set of Enterprise. We filmed 3 different scenes. You can only see my face in like one of the scenes, but it was in the episode 0 Hour. And so it was really interesting when we were, because that was the final episode for season 3 of Enterprise, and they didn't know if it was coming back or not. And just the feeling on the set, it was really quite sad because, people felt like this was it. And so they but the experience itself of just being there was so tremendous. And do you have the Scott Bakula picture?
I do. I'll put it down here, and you just have to remember to go up higher.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I was up in makeup, and Scott Bakula had been released for the day, and he waited until I came down from makeup so that we could do this photograph. So like, that's how incredible he was. Like I always loved him from the Quantum Leap days. Like I was a super fan of Quantum Leap. And so for him to wait when he did not have to wait, like that was so kind, and I really appreciated it.
One thing, somebody was asking Dee one time on stage what kind of a show he'd like to be. He said, if I was a younger man, I would have given my left arm to be on Quantum Leap, because that's the kind of show where you can really show your diversity of character creation. And he says, oh my gosh, that was something else.
Yeah. Okay. And they're doing a reboot soon too.
Are they?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so got some more comments. So before we go with photos, we'll do my father-in-law was born in Moscow. I remember a conversation I had with Leonard Nimoy at a convention. I was unemployed at the time, although it was not the pandemic. Leonard mentioned on stage to hire the unemployed when you can. So I mentioned to him that I was unemployed, and if he didn't mind, could I put his thought on my resume? He looked at me and right away replied, I would be honored, especially if it helps you get a job. Good luck. I never did add it to my resume, but it felt good that it was in my court. Aww.
I like it when actors use their platform for, like positive social good. Absolutely. Like that.
And I understand a lot of the people who do give autographs at conventions, half of each of those costs goes to their favorite charity in many cases.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it doesn't just all go to the convention. They ask that much more so that it can also go to and benefit their charities. Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's go back up here for some more pictures. No, that's not what it looks like.
It really isn't. But this picture cracks me up. Look at my face. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This picture just makes me laugh. Okay, so after my experience on Enterprise, like that changed everything for me. So before I was just like a regular fan, going to conventions, watching the shows. But after I did my day on the set of Enterprise, I wrote it up for StarTrek.com. And then StarTrek.com had me cover things that were happening in the Pacific Northwest. And so that was the orchestra, or the symphony, Seattle Symphony. And George Takei was the narrator at the symphony. And so I got to call George before. So like I called him at his home, and had this little phone interview, got everything prepped. Then after the symphony, they had an after party, and I went and interviewed him, and my husband got that picture. And it's just so funny.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, and here we have one of.
Oh yeah. So now this is on the set of Gods and Men, and it was their mock-up of the Guardian of Forever. And so I, as an Enterprise fan, I had to be like my Mako moment. And so holding one of the prop weapons. Yeah. So that was cool. That was a really fun day, but here's the thing. Okay. So I have had skin cancer, and because everything was so hush hush about what we were doing, they didn't tell us where we were going. I mean, I'm like, certainly actors knew where they were going, but all the rest of us, like, we didn't know where we were going. So I was not prepared to be outside at Vasquez Rocks all day. And so luckily the park ranger guy, he had a hat for me and an umbrella. And so I was able to, kind of stay under the umbrella. Some other people gave me sunscreen, but I was like, I was definitely like, look at my shoes. I was not dressed for
Right.
to be in the right place. But it was a great day, and I'm so glad that I got to be there, even though it's very hot. I don't know how you people live down there.
I know. A lot of the Westerns were made there. Several
Yep.
Star Treks were made there. And it's very, very close to Tippi Hedren's Shambhala Preserve, where I volunteered. So I had an opportunity, and Deacon stayed there for like 15 months when I was looking for a landlord who let me have a wild cat in their backyard. But Vasquez Rocks is an incredible place. If you ever get a chance, G was up there so much, he should have put his name on a rock as a cowboy. But he was also up there to do bread and circuses and any other number of things that Star Trek did, because it was a really great location that looks otherworldly, depending on where you are in that area. Here we are. Did I show you this one yet? No.
No. So that is again on the set of Gods and Men, and you can see that I was playing a Vulcan, and I am not what one would call a girly girl. So I do not pluck my eyebrows, and they had a heck of a time with my eyebrows, and the makeup artist, like so many people had come and gone while like he was trying to figure out what to do with my eyebrows. And finally at one point I said, just shave them. Just shave it. I want to get out there. And so he shaved half my eyebrows and then drew up the rest.
What did the ears feel like? What did the ears feel like? Were they uncomfortable?
Yeah, it was totally comfortable. I don't even think after a while even realized they were on.
Oh, I got to tell you a funny story about that. When I was in high school, Star Trek was really on TV. I know this carbon dates me, the original Star Trek. And I had done some kind of a comedy skit where I was Spock, and the only ears I could find, I had some green clay, which I thought would be add to the funny of it. I had some green clay made into ears. They got so warm on me, and so completely I did not remember they were there. So after school I went to Safeway with these green tips on, and these people were looking at me like, and I thought, what is the matter? Do I have lettuce in my teeth? I don't understand. Why is everybody looking at me? I got home, looked in the mirror, and oh my gosh. So I'm glad to hear they were comfortable, because I know at first Leonard Nimoy said they were excruciating until they got it right. So after this many years, I guess they finally got it right.
Right.
We have 5 comments, but let's go ahead and look at this other one here.
Oh, okay. So this was when Walter was getting his star on the Walk of Fame. Again, I was running celebrity for the convention. And so as we were doing the tour of the Walk of Fame, I was just kind of in charge of making sure that everything was okay. And but that was another really, really fun day with all the fans who we walked to see all of the different Star Trek actors, stars on the Walk of Fame. So we got to see Dee that day too.
I used to polish his star when I was there.
Yep.
Is the gentleman to the left of Walter Koenig, is that Larry Nemechek?
Yes, it is.
I thought so. I knew Larry. He came to our home one night, and he came over for what we thought was going to be an hour, and it was like, I think 2 when he finally left. We had so many stories to share. It was just absolutely fabulous. We had a wonderful time. I thought that was Larry.
Yeah. Larry's incredible. He knows all the knowledge. Well, and that kind of goes back to what you were saying about Vasquez Rocks. I think Larry just announced recently that he's opening his Star Trek tours again. So if you want to go with somebody who knows what they're talking about, he is a great person to.
His name, I'm going to spell it for those of you who want to look him up. It's Larry. You know how to spell Larry. Nemechek is Nemechek. Nemeck. You can find him right here. You can find him on Facebook. Just ask to befriend him.
Mhm.
And yeah, I bet
Yep.
that's going to be fabulous because he can take you all kinds of places.
Yes,
Okay, we got
absolutely.
13 comments, so let's get going here. Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Is that the next one? Okay. Okay, here we go. Scott. Okay, here we go. Golden Spike. He talks with his hands. He's not a reader. See, that's why I love Golden Spike. Fucking George Takei here. George Takei is really funny. We watched some videos of him doing a few panels. Good Lord, I've laughed so hard I was just about in tears. Absolutely. Yep. He's an absolute kick in the pants. Garrett Wang does a good impression of George. Oh my gosh. George, when he laughs, he sounds like a seal in heat. I mean, it is hysterical. It is just hysterical. It's
yeah. I've enjoyed, well, going back to talking about Garrett for a second, has everybody been listening to the Delta Flyers podcast? So they started, he and Robert Duncan McNeil started walk through Voyager, all the episodes when the pandemic started. So it's a great podcast. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you, Roger, for putting up Amy's URL. I'm having so much fun here. I'm not even doing that stuff. So, Amy, this is what I'm thinking. Would you write a book about your experiences as a Star Trek fan and your experience of meeting the stars of the Star Trek family? I think it's time. Yes.
Well, actually, Lisa, so what I'm doing on my Instagram account, so I have 2 Instagram accounts, and I think Kris put up originally my the Creativity Playground, which is all my paper crafting, which, you know, I have a little bit of nerdiness in my paper crafting too. But I also have my Amy Yulin Instagram account, and I never really did much with it because I was like, ugh, like, am I really going to post another selfie? Like, it just seemed lame. And so I didn't do much. And then at the beginning of this year, I thought, ooh, what if I changed it to posting my Star Trek pictures and stories? So I only have 3 up, because as you can imagine, being a teacher is like busy times.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of the habits that I really want to develop, is posting those photos and telling more of those stories.
Would you give me the new URL for the Star Trek stories?
So it's just Instagram.com/Amy Yulin, all one word.
Instagram, INSTAGRAM
Yeah.
.com.
Yeah, well, Instagram.com and then just /Amy Yulin. Yep, just like it's up there right now.
One word, Amy Yulin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me just now put that right. Well, hello, where did it go?
Yeah, it's on there. It's on the screen.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Comments are gone. We got 2 loves, many thumbs up, 7 people on here still. Any questions? Any other questions?
Janet did. There actually are a couple. Let's see.
Oh, I see some. Okay.
Yeah.
Tim Russ is a nice guy. My daughters loved him when we met him at Conduit in Salt Lake. Who is polishing D-Star now? I believe one of last I knew, a gal named Lisa, who actually worked as an actor at the Long Beach Community Theater where Dee got his start. She said she would take it over when I left. And as far as I know, she's still doing that. Her name's Lisa. I can't remember her last name. I feel horrible about that. If I can come up with it later, I'll put it back on my blog post, because I'm going to update my blog post after this. Boy, could Walter chew the scenery as the bad guy and Bester on Babylon 9.
Babylon 5.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Babylon 5. I saw Walter and Mark Leonard in The Boys of Autumn, about the Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn as grown-ups, and it got really awesome reviews. That's the only really, and I didn't interact with them. I just watched their play live in Hollywood when I lived there.
Mm.
The interesting thing about Walter is he has an IQ something like 165 or 175. He's extremely, extremely intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very, you can tell he's always thinking more than, he's just constantly right there, you know. And I didn't have too many interactions with him. Did you, Amy?
At his Walk of Fame event, yeah, I did there. But again, he's a more introverted type person, so tends to keep more to himself as well. But I wholeheartedly agree with Bester on Babylon 5. Like, yeah, that was such a great show. Such an incredible
Roger
series.
has put up some more contacts. LarryNemechek.com. That's where if you want to go to Vasquez Rocks and his other Star Trek locations in Hollywood, if you're ever there.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, we had a few come in at the same time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's because it goes to all 5 different locations.
Right.
Okay, so all right, we don't have any more comments. You have any more things you want to share, Amy?
Yeah, so I think I'm trying to think of did we do the group photo?
The group photo. Let me see.
And
this one right here?
No. Well, I mean, that's it, but there was one that was bigger, but I think Roger just had something.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm on your Instagram account, and there's the third image, I believe, or maybe the second image, where you go into detail about that personal moment between Nichelle Nichols and William Wellman. I don't know if you had a chance to talk about that.
No, I haven't yet.
I'm going to pull up that picture if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Real quick. I'm going to go straight to the website, and I'm going to do a share screen. Kris, forgive me.
Okay.
And this is the image I'm talking about. There it is.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, in Of Gods and Men, Charlie X comes back, and Nichelle, like in the original series episode, Nichelle sang to him, and so, or Uhura sang to him, and so she recreated that now in Of Gods and Men. And it was such an incredible moment because here, like if you've ever been on set, there are people everywhere. There's so many people and cameras and mics and like people holding up screens to bounce light off. And there's just so much going on. And so here I am, they're in this rehearsal for the scene, and I'm taking photos because I'm covering this for StarTrek.com at the time. And I stopped. After a while, I stopped taking photos because her performance, like their performance together, was so intimate and personal. And when she was singing to him, like even just thinking about it right now, like I'm starting to get tears in my eyes. Like it was just such an incredibly beautiful and poignant moment. And after they were done with their rehearsal, and I've got these tears in my eyes, and somebody who was standing next to me was like, "She's good, huh?" Yeah, she's so good. It was incredible.
Yeah. Wow.
I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that I definitely want to do with Instagram account, because like Lisa was mentioning, it's like that's, I definitely have stories that I want to tell and share, and that's a good way to do it.
Ross was just in on Roger's sports show.
I was thinking about that when I
He
introduced myself. I had the Yankee jersey on,
Yes,
and then I said, "Okay, well, I'll join them." And then I said, "Okay, I might as well go all out."
absolutely.
I love it.
I ran back in and I rarely ever wear this, and yeah, I'm
Well, it's
sorry.
great. You should wear it more often. It's awesome.
Ross just said, I just spammed you on Messenger with some photos of why I was late to the stream today. Well, I'm going to look into that later, and I'll maybe share them on the next one. Mark Leonard, I loved his voice. Yeah, he played a great Vulcan. Yeah, I met him very briefly at the same Star Trek convention in Spokane where I reconnected with Dee, and he was another, I think, an introvert, very soft spoken and very not actory. He was really.
So, Kris,
Yes.
in Hollywood, do you feel like a lot of actors? I mean, obviously you have your boisterous extroverted kind, but do you think a lot are introverts?
I think
and that's
an
why
awful
they
lot
love
are.
acting?
I think an awful lot are. I'm a writer because I'm an introvert. We have a lot to say or a lot to express, but we don't do it gregariously. Dee was very shy. I heard that Sir Laurence Olivier practically upchucked every time even though he was a masterful, thespian, he was so nervous before every performance that it was just painful, and yet he would go out and give these incredible performances. I think an awful lot of people get into acting to get outside of, if you can be someone else. I was the same way on stage. I could do almost anything on stage because it wasn't me.
Right. Yeah, that's how I felt too.
Yeah.
Do you know how Dee felt when he was doing stage plays? Do you know how he felt about the curtain call?
I do. The only time I ever heard him talk about his stage plays was when he did. He met Carolyn when he did the play An Innocent Young Man, and he said, "I was an innocent young man until then." One called later on after Star Trek. Oh, doggone it! The name is escaping me right now. Somebody's gonna jump in here and tell me what it is, though. It was the same one, Larry. The guy who got murdered, Larry, the guy who was on Hogan's Heroes. What was the name of that play?
Oh.
Anyhow, he said he was so extremely nervous about getting back into stage acting after so many years in Hollywood that he went to a place called Lubbock, Texas, hoping that not too many people would see him, until he got his stage legs back underneath him. But as soon as it was announced that he was going to be there, people flew in from all over the world. And so it was really, really frightening for him. And his producer said, or his director there said, he lost about 35 pounds in the 4 weeks he did that show. It was very, 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 hard for him to do that. He did a great job. The producer said he had the timing of Jack Benny. He was absolutely hysterical in comedies. But that was the show in which he was wearing a necklace. He told this story on stage, so I can too. He was wearing this necklace that Carolyn had given him for one of their many anniversaries, and it was like a gold chain. And during this show, he plays a guy who has had a falling out with his wife. They've either been separated or divorced, and he's trying to get back into her good graces. So he feigns hurting his leg so he can stay that night. And during this play, she leaves the room for a minute, and he quickly undresses down to his underwear and gets into bed. Okay, well, while he's undressing, he inadvertently caught that gold chain and broke it and threw it out into the audience. And he says, I was so distraught by thinking I had lost Carolyn's necklace. I didn't just undress down to my underwear. I mooned the whole west side. I went under those covers so fast. So it was the theater in the round, and the stage lifted up at the end of that scene so that he could go out and reclaim his dignity. But he said, I just, you know, I was so upset by that. So he was really, really pretty freaked, you know, being on stage. And he said, oh my goodness, you know. Bob Crane was murdered. Yes, he was. It was that show, and it was called Beginner's Luck. The name of the show was Beginner's Luck. Babylon 5. Let's see, a whole different side of Walter. I love Chekhov, and boy, could he scream on command.
Yeah.
But Bester let him do a lot more creatively. Absolutely. I have 2 of your books in the forest. You have updated again. I would really like to get my hands on it. I think if you have 2 versions, you have both versions, Lisa. Yeah. The first one came out in 2001. Yeah, 4 days after the attack on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. So it didn't get hardly any publicity. I wasn't feeling up to publicizing it after that. I was in, you know, a fetal position for months and months and months. But during I think maybe the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, I reissued it with additional. At that time, I took away about a third of the back end of these, you know, declining months. And I added in about 55 pages of additional fun anecdote stories plus images. And the new version of that is called DeForest Kelley Up Close and Personal, A Harvest of Memories from the Fan Who Knew Him Best. And I'll put that up at some point here, or at least here I'll send you to my Author Central page, and you can find my books there. That's the short thing. That's short enough that you can write it down and go, or just go to Amazon and type in Kris with a K, M Smith, and all of my books will pop up there. It's a scary deal, you know. You know that very well. How many different places have you been in, Amy?
Oh,
Too many.
a lot. I don't know. But I guess the reason why I had asked was because, like you said earlier, I like acting because I'm not me. I'm a different character.
Right.
I can't stand the curtain call because that's me. Like I'm like going and like saying, please, like clap for me. And I'm like, it just feels so gross to me. So I don't like them. And when I was directing, I would always make my student assistant directors stage the curtain call because that's how much I don't like them. I was like using it as, oh, here's a leadership opportunity for you. When in reality, I'm like, no, I hate curtain calls. You do it.
You know, I've never done, if I did a curtain call, I don't remember it. I mean, I did plays in high school, but I hated my birthday party as a kid. I don't like the focus on me. Yeah. I think I kind of went into a hysterical kid thing. I don't even remember them. It's like, don't put your focus on me. So yeah, I could get that. I wouldn't like curtain calls either. Yeah. See, that's not gregarious people love that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. More comments. Let's come right down here. Oh, I have both books. I'll never sell or give those books for the gold in the world. Thank you, John. That's very, very cool. Well, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah. Should we call it a day and have you back at some other time? You got some more stories for sure.
Sure. Sounds great.
Okay. I also want to give a shout out to Hannah McCrane, who is my regular co-host. She had a family obligation today during this hour. So she'll be looking in on this later on, and we'll see her again in 2 weeks from now. So if there's no more comments, here's one more thing. Golden Spike. Star Trek has been inspirational to so many people, and seeing things like Of Gods and Men let us know that we could tell our own stories. I'm much happier being a behind the scenes guy, but I've seen a lot of great stories told in the Star Trek world by its fans. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Roger, did you have anything more? Did you want to give a shout out to your sports Nope.
No. I'm just happy to be here. I thank you. I wasn't expecting to be here. Amy, I want to thank you for your stories. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's quite a bit more there, and maybe another time you could return to the program here, or we could have you on one of our other programs on this, on this network. And if you want to talk more, talk about your website, yourself, or you just want to have a conversation, this was great. I thank you for the last minute invite, and this was fun to be here. I learned a great deal, Amy, and I'm sure you have quite a few stories that we're still not told.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Please, if you enjoyed this, share it. Let people know that it exists, because that's how we get more viewers. And Amy, I'm sure you'll be sharing it on yours, because I'm sure all of your students will want to see this. So, yeah.
Okay, I may have one question.
Yes.
All right, I apologize. When you were on the set of Enterprise,
Mhm.
what were you able to do? How long were you on there? Did they let you walk around the set? I mean, what was your impression of being there? I mean, it's for most fans, they will never ever be able to do what you did. What was it like for you to be there?
Yeah. That is an hour in and of itself.
Oh, fair enough. There it is.
Good.
We got you.
Yeah. But like the short version of it is like every fan's dream. Every fan's dream. And how I was saying that only I was in 3 scenes, but my face can only be seen in one of them. In one of the others, it's the opening sequence of the scene. We're in engineering, and I'm up on the catwalk by the engine. And so like my nerdy self is like, I'm like pushing all these buttons, and I'm like, oh, I'm like making the ship run, and I'm like just totally nerding out into it. Meanwhile, the actors are walking around doing their scene like over and over and over again because they were struggling with their lines. And for me, I was like, oh, fine, you keep going, you keep doing this, because I was just having so much fun. And you can see as they round the corner, you can see the bottom of my legs. But I was like, it didn't matter to me, because like the fangirl in me was just so excited to be there. And that's how I felt all day. We were on set for 14 hours.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. It was incredible.
Wow. Okay, we got to do this again at some point. Whenever you say you're available, Amy, I know she is no longer going to be a teacher, I understand. You're moving on to a district manager. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, technically I'm a teacher on special assignment. I'll be doing K-12, so kindergarten through 12th grade computer science integration. So I'm going to help teachers learn how to incorporate computational thinking and problem solving into their curriculum for the whole district.
Oh, wow. That's right. And where will you be? Will you be in Olympia? Will you be everywhere, wherever you need to be?
Well, I'll still be in Lakewood. So, yeah. So in the district that I'm teaching in now, I'll still be there. And
you only get your 20 or 30 minutes, so I guess we can't do a lunch anytime.
Right.
We're going to do it sometime, though. She lives
30 miles
away.
So, Amy, are you in Southern California or are you in Seattle?
We're so south of Seattle.
Oh, okay. Oh, because when you said Lakewood, I'm like, well, hey, that's not far from me in LA.
Right,
oh, right. Yeah.
No, we're in the southern Puget Sound region.
Oh, right. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're coming up soon.
As a matter of fact, I know I'm going to be there in October, but I want to get there before. I'm looking at July when it's hot. So I loved it. I flew up to Seattle, and Kris was so great in receiving me and my daughter. We went up to a baseball game, and we did what people from LA to Vegas call a turnaround. Yeah, we did that for a baseball game. Oh, it was hard, but it was great. And I'm going to head up there for the weekend soon. But that's not about me. It's about you.
I might have a person coming in from New Zealand in July, but that's okay. We'll still be local. If you drop in too, that'd be fine.
We'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'll schedule it. Right now, when I was saying it's not about me, I was thinking, I did like birthday parties.
You did what?
I did like birthday parties
Oh,
of the comment
gregarious
earlier.
guy. You're a gregarious guy. All right.
Oh, I'm an introvert by nature, and I'm an INTJ, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
Me too.
everyone thinks I'm an extrovert. Nah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody. If you two will stay on, I will sign off with everybody else. Share this. Those of you who are seeing this as a replay, remember we're here every 2 weeks, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, and you can also catch them on, afterwards at the same URL. So if you miss one, you can still look at the earlier ones. We have a lot of fun here, and mostly it's an awful lot because you guys tune in and ask the questions and give us the comments and make it all happen. So without you, we're just not having much fun at all. So please come. Thank you very much. And goodbye. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Bye.